they can also tell us more about themselves. Allow me to start with at the top, we have our director, Alice Givere Wahome, who is one of the board members at Chiromo Hospital Group. We are truly, truly honored to have you on this call today. You can say hi to us.
Thank you. Hello, everybody. Good morning.
All right. And then we also have Modoni Gadesha. And some of you might know her from the many roles that she plays. Modoni is also a psychologist and a mental health consultant. She'll be telling us more as she speaks later on. Modoni, could you please just wave?
Good morning, everybody. It's good to have the beautiful ladies on the call this morning. I'm excited about this forum. Thank you very much, Gadani.
Excellent. All right. Next, we have Victoria Rica. She's the head of mental wellness programs at Chiromo Hospital Group. Victoria, how are you doing this morning?
Very well, Gathoni. Good morning, ladies. Good morning, the audience. I'm privileged to be here and looking forward to a very great and engaging conversation. Thank you, Gathoni.
Right. Thank you so much, Victoria. We also have Nangami with us today. Some of you might have also seen her on the platform. She's a public speaker and a corporate trainer. Nangami, thank you and welcome to this call this morning. Please say hi to us.
Thank you so much for having me, Gadoni. It's a pleasure to be here. And I also mentioned it to the people who follow me. I was like, this is quite intimidating, being in a panel of quite accomplished women, but it's a pleasure to be here.
Okay, thank you so much. And last but not least on this panel, we have Dr. Christine Namu, who is a general surgeon and also the Secretary General of Association of Surgeons. She's all the way from Uganda. We are so happy to have you here, and we're actually looking forward to just a cultural contribution to see how that looks like. Daktari, welcome. Please say hi. Kindly unmute.
Oh, yes, sorry. Good morning, ladies. Good morning to our lovely audience. Very nice to meet you all. And I'm looking forward to this discussion, fruitful discussion.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Namu. Today's conversation is specifically titled Rest, Reset, and Rise. And this theme comes from just holistically looking at the roles that women take as they go through life. I think all the way from childhood, women are brought up and nurtured and directed towards caring for the community. And because of that nurturing, you'll find that women find themselves in a space where everything that they pick, whether it is school, whether it is a job, whether it is a role in the community, whether it's leadership, even in church, they really take it seriously. And the society also kind of looks at a woman and gives them or has put them in a space where there is no room for mediocrity. And with this, then we find that a lot of women end up suffering stress, end up suffering burnout, and even just emotional fatigue. Yet, with all this, mental wellness is not prioritized. Yet it is part of living a fulfilling life. So I would like to start by asking my panelists, what does this theme mean to you? Rest, reset, rise. What came to your mind as you saw this topic? I'll start with Modoni and we can go to...
All right, thank you very much, Gadoni. I think rest is something that lots of us as women, take really for granted, and we don't purpose or become very intentional about this, taking time to rest. They say there's so much to do. I need to do this, I need to do the other. Not putting into consideration that in order for you to operate or in order for you to carry out your tasks you need to rejuvenate. You need to be that, that moment that you keep to yourself. But people say there's so much to do. I need to, to do this or that. I don't have time for myself. I need to wake up first.
Right.
I need to sleep last. And in this particular case, I think it's a notion that we have in our minds that we need to change, that we need to look at the importance of rest. We spend so much time toiling, we must spend enough time revitalizing ourselves so that we can, carry out the tasks that we are supposed to carry out. So for me, rest is crucial. Reset for me, I look at it and I say, you can reset your life at any point in time. Pressing that reset button, that at any point in your time, sometimes we go through things or do things or make mistakes along the way, and then we say, I'm doomed. Rather than looking at it as doom and failure, let us go back into the resources that we have within ourselves and find out where can I reset that button. It is never too late. And as women, we can only go up. Down is not a place for us. Down is not our portion. Up and onward. Thank you, Gagoni.
Thank you so much, Bodoni, for that. I would also like to hear from someone else. What came to mind when you saw this theme of rest, reset, rise? Director?
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Udoni. I like that. For me, rest. Rest is not necessarily sleeping or anything like that. For me, resting is stopping to exercise. I love to do stuff. I like Zumba. I play golf. I like to swim. For me, resting is taking time for myself like that. And it gives me my emotional strength. To reset is, as Modoni said, it can come anytime during the day. You can renew yourself. You can stop, have a moment to read. I love to read. Just take time to have a peaceful moment. That can be like 3 times a day, 4 times a day, little snippets. As women, we have to do so many things. We are mothers, we are wives, we are business people, we are a director. Just take time for yourself. To rise, definitely we have to celebrate ourselves, because women, I think, have to work a bit harder than men and make sure everything is in place in the home, in the family, in the business. Competing, like I'm in real estate, I have to compete with mostly men. Creating support groups. I have good friends that we can talk on the phone, and they just give me back my, my mental strength again. Having good friends and good similar people who are doing the same thing, I think that gives me just a rise all the time and resilience.
Thank you so much, Director. And I love that you've highlighted that rest is not just sleep. I think most of the time when we hear the word rest, for some people it clicks. Maybe I need to be indoors or I need to be asleep. Yet I've met a lot of people who say, where will I get that time to sleep? So we are just looking at what works for you. It could be sleep for you, but it could also be just a healthy way to disconnect. Allow me to go into and dive into the conversation today. We've said that women juggle a lot. So I would like us to delve into what are some of the common challenges that women get to face. And we'll start with Victoria with us. What are some of these challenges that women will face that will interfere with their overall well-being, with their mental health, or with their ability to be the best version of themselves?
Thank you, Gathoni. So I would say in my years of practice and having a lot of women who have come for therapy, their issues fall into different categories. For example, we'll have what are professional challenges, what are social challenges, Personal challenges probably are part of social challenges. Now, if you allow me to switch off my video because of my internet. So what I would say are things especially to do with gender biases within the work environment. So when you talk about things like gender pay gap, I don't know how many of us read the report from the World Economic Forum, which says that for us to achieve gender parity, it will take 132 years. So we're looking at around 2150 something. So how many of us will be alive for us to achieve that gender parity? So they'll come to me with issues about their professional development. There's a lot of limited career advancement. There's sexual workplace harassment. They are struggling to do what I prefer to call, as opposed to work-life balance, work-life integration. And women, we also have what we call self-sabotaging. We have imposter syndrome. So we may have that feeling of inadequacy. And what does it do? It leads us to underplaying our skills, and we are not able to advance as fast as the men do. Of course, that again goes to gender biases. When it comes to personal challenges, of course, we must talk about motherhood. And motherhood is a career by itself. There's a physical aspect of it, the process of conception, pregnancy, childbirth, postpartum recovery. And there is also the toll of childbearing and caregiving. And mothers, like our director has said, we put aside our own needs and we are trying to show up for everyone. So there's also things like change in relationship dynamics, with the father of the child or the partner. And there's what we call now, when it comes to the professional environment, the motherhood penalty. Some of us have decided to put a hold on our careers so that we can now advance families. But what does that mean? It means there's a gap in your CV, and trying to explain it away that I took 2 years off to go and, get a child or two. It shows that as a woman, you're perceived to be a little bit incompetent. Did you keep up professionally while you were away? So there's a lot of gender-based discrimination, and these things take a huge toll on women. And we know through research that women are more predisposed to depression than the male gender. So they'll come to therapy. We'll talk about depression. We'll talk about anxiety. Of course, there are the underlying factors, but the triggers now will be manifested through what is happening in her workplace, what is happening in her social life, her social circle. So we have a lot of things happening, even like hiring and promotion biases. Again, women are perceived to be less committed, less competent, especially if you get pregnant, you take a maternity break. So all those things come back to stress women. And if we do not have the proper or relevant coping mechanisms, then they push us to a place where we are mentally unwell. And if you're mentally unwell, then you cannot claim to be physically healthy, because those two go together. I don't know if I have given too much information, Gathoni.
No, actually, that is really excellent, especially being a clinician, being in practice and seeing these women. You've highlighted very, very strong points and I'm sure there's somebody somewhere who is seated either in this call or watching us online that their mind has been triggered. A lot of time, I feel that we wait for worst case scenario for somebody to go and seek help. But now we know that some of these things can direct you or take you to therapy, and they support, because you need to learn how then do I identify the self-sabotaging behaviors that I have, or the imposter syndrome, and deal with that. Right. Thank you. Thank you so much. I truly appreciate that. On to Director Alice. You've been in leadership for a long time in the corporate world. And one thing we know about the corporate world, every time I hear a woman in corporate, one of the things that keeps being reiterated over and over is pressure, pressure, pressure. Yeah, pressure to be perfect. What are some of the things that you have also seen women struggling with in this corporate world?
In real estate, especially, well, I come from Mombasa, for the audience who don't know me, and I'm a real estate developer for the last 15 years. It is more male dominated. And for me, when I started, I think I was one of the first women to do, let's say, the apartments, now that single houses were coming to an end and we started building the high rise. And always when I was trying to sell, people would think there must be a man behind me or a family or somebody, it can't be it wouldn't be just me as a woman doing it. And that I had to work so hard to, I don't know why I had to prove that it's me, but it was me, and I wanted to be known that, you know, I don't have to have help. I'm hardworking and I can do it. So there was a bit of pressure that, you know, came, and it was unexpected because I'm an accountant, I'm a professional. So that came to me as a surprise. But to negate that, I just decided to focus on what I'm doing. Otherwise, it would, you know, I would have negative vibes. I didn't even know about, you know, mental health then. I didn't think about it much. But I took time to encourage myself and just fight on. It's, as we said, women, it was more of a fight. But once it started selling, then people started trusting a woman actually more. Everything was well organized. I finished on time. Whatever I said, I did. And I think that came out very well as a woman, because I think we plan better and we finish everything in a better way. I think so. So in the end, it worked, but it was hard work. Yeah.
It was. And thank you for
Yeah.
sharing that. I think that's something that is so common within the society, that if you find a woman who is powerful, who has grown, the assumption is, you know, she must be getting some form of help, or from a man, or whoever it is, or from her parents. And thank you for highlighting that, because for any other woman who is watching this and going through that space, it's to keep going, as you've had. Keep going. Eventually, things work out. We have Dr. Namu on the call, who also brings in a unique experience of the struggles, both as a surgeon as well in a male-dominated field, but also as a panelist who is joining us from Uganda. What have you seen? What have you seen as some of the struggles?
Yeah, thank you. I will start off with a riddle, just to us to jiggle our brains and our audience. So, a father and a son were involved in a car accident. Tragically, the dad dies on scene. The son is wheeled into the hospital. And as he's wheeled into the operating theater, the surgeon comes in and is like, "Oh, I can't operate on this kid. He's my son. So how is this possible?" The son passed on, the father passed on in a car. So yes, if you got it right, you're in the very little percentage that gets it right. This has been run all over, and very few people get it. Personally, I got it wrong the first time, and that time I had already qualified as a surgeon. So yeah, the mother is the surgeon.
Yeah.
So what am I alluring to? This just shows you like how our mind maps have been made. We've been conditioned to think that doctors and especially surgeons are males, and you never think otherwise. Growing up, you saw that whenever you would ask a girl, they would tell you, "I'll be a nurse." And I'm not demeaning nurses, I respect nurses. But just because we've been wired that women will wear the dress, will be the nurse, and then the male will be in the scrub. So yeah, that just shows you that as you navigate this field, there are really a lot of challenges, already some preconditioned, and then some you're just exposed to. So you have challenges to yourself. Mudoni mentioned the imposter syndrome. I really struggled with that myself at the beginning of just being a surgeon, and I had to overcome that. And then you have challenges with your colleagues, challenges to your with your patients and with your family. So things like disrespect come in. You don't command as much respect from your colleagues or patients as would your male counterparts. And even like you can see in meetings, if you're the only female, you'll be requested to make the tea. And I'm not saying that's demeaning. You will make it because you enjoy it, but most of the time they will just look at you, expecting you to have organized the tea, have organized the accompaniments, you know. You're not as important, I would say. And the other thing is really usually a challenge of trust. You kind of have to work twice as hard as your male counterpart to get that, to earn that trust, especially from patients. So you'll see the patient, you finish all the work, you agree with the team what's the next step if you need to operate, and then you'll hear that after you walk away, you'll hear the patient asking, "Where's my surgeon? I've not seen a doctor yet." And sometimes you probably want to snap, but you're like, yeah, it's just a patient. I think one of the things I've really told myself once I learned about the mastermind conditioning and knowing even I get it wrong, knowing a woman can be in a powerful position, I learned how to respond to such comments from patients or colleagues. The other challenge it presents with is the leadership challenge. I've fallen into some leadership roles. And we all know leading clever people is very difficult. Everyone has their solutions. So commanding or navigating that can be quite hard. I've found that being authentic, kind of stating your principles, your core values, bringing in your team on board to know what's the common goal here, and then creating psychological safety where they feel like they can trust you with something and then you come up with solutions. Or I find that working for me, to be honest. I won't even enter into motherhood. Someone at least has alluded to motherhood.
Yes.
But
Yes.
some of the challenges I've had from some of my colleagues are like, if you have like heavy menses and you're operating a long surgery, like a 4-hour surgery, some have had to wear pampers or diapers, and some have leaked on table. And if you say, "Can I excuse myself?" especially if you're probably in a junior role, everyone will look at you like, how are you leaving? Why would you leave the table? Are you serious? You can even be dismissed actually from that case, but you can't now verbalize it, like say it out loud on table that, "Look, I think I've leaked," and because everyone will know your business. And when they know that you're in that phase, then again, you're treated differently. "Oh, you're hormonal. Oh, you're this." So those are really, now that is like mental and psychological. Breastfeeding. My friend just recently shared her experience. She's a plastic surgeon resident. And when she returned from her maternity leave, she had 24-hour shifts. So there was no break to go home to breastfeed. So she had to pump at work, store the milk, and then she goes with it after her 24-hour shift. Where do you store it? We've not created space for that. We've not actually, our people who structure the system don't have that. So she would put the milk at like a bottom corner in some dish in the fridge, and the male surgeons would always frown upon it. They would always comment it, bring it up on ward rounds, like you're in front of a patient and someone speaks about your breast milk. How does that make you feel? So those are some of the challenges in our field. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Daktari. And I'm sure also for a lot of women in just different spaces as well. It's important that we get to hear, because every woman in this panel today represents a different set of a woman somewhere in the community. So before we delve into how then are you able to identify if you're emotionally fatigued or if you're having burnout? Allow me just to invite Nangami to tell us what she has observed or what her experience has been, and then Muthoni briefly before we get into that. Yes, Nangami.
All right, yes. Wow. In fact, with what Dr. Nambu has said, I'm like, wow. When it comes to the challenges that they experience as doctors, that is just other levels. And I'm hoping that obviously the systems and the powers that be will look into that, because those are like really and grave serious issues that definitely would impact women who are working in that space. But for me, when it comes to the women that I have engaged with, when it comes to the struggles that they do have, my biggest problem has always been with indecision. With the women that I interact with, because most of the time women want to make decisions when they have the perfect circumstance, they have all the information, and then they have like to be able to make the perfect decision. And therefore it always stands in the way, because I deal with women sometimes even when it comes to their self-mastery, and you realize that the biggest problems that for me I have encountered with women has always been when it comes to relationships, because I think women thrive a lot in other areas. Like they're powerful, they can know their way around, because now we understand women are getting the degrees, they're getting the papers, they are ascending the corporate ladder, they're building big business. So when it comes to ascending and knowing what to do in the real world, they have that issue, they have that ability. But then again, when it comes to now personal lives, critical thinking has always been a problem, because I also deal with young women, and just the ability to assess a situation before you can make the decision. Because for most women, it always comes from a place of they are reactive, not proactive. So usually they act before they can think, and then they think later after the situation has already happened. So that ability to not make decisions has always been a problem for, and even myself, I think coming into the space, I also had a problem with making a decision in terms of the career that I am into right now, because obviously I'm in a career that is also male dominated. And always second guessing myself because of that imposter syndrome. I used to feel like maybe I'm not worth it. And then I know how men in our industry, public speaking and in corporate training, very aggressive. And as a woman, you can't come in that space. And I've also learned that when I get into certain spaces, I have to come in soft, because I want to be a bit feminine, so that I don't come off as you have too much testosterone. Because when you're in a team of men, when you are pitching to men, and usually with this, as goes with my profession, you're meeting executives, you're meeting top titans and industry titans, most of whom are male. So you have to come with a little bit of softness before you can get the opportunity. Then after that, that is when now you prove that you're worthy. You now show that you merit. And always having that contrast where you just don't show up. You always have to make sure that when I come, I look soft, I'm dressed up, nice dress, heels, and I look like I'm very non-threatening and disarming. And then once I get the opportunity, that's when now it's all systems go, and I have to prove to them that now I'm worth this opportunity. Because right off the bat, sometimes it can be a bit intimidating. So learning how to navigate the two has been something that I've learned over time. Yeah.
Right. Thank you so much, Nagabi. And I can see my fellow panelists are smiling. I don't know whether it's that they can relate to it, but you've said something very important. I think a lot of times also women forget that you get into the space because of your feminine traits, and not because of masculine traits. Because after women get into those positions of power, some of them become now extremely aggressive, because they are trying to compete with the male dominance that is there. But I also like the fact that you said they have to focus on all these other little things, how you dress, how you talk, to get into the space in the first place. There's something that is also very, very important that I want Modoni to help address in terms of what women also go through and is overlooked. So Modoni, please welcome.
Thank you so much, Nangami. Thank you, Gadoni. But Nangami really brought something that I was so able to identify with. My camera went off, sorry. And this is when she talked about walking into a meeting with a lot of testosterone. This is where we go to FYI. And for information, I turned 63 this year. I think my estrogen levels are extremely low. My progesterone levels, I don't even think they're there. And I think the other day I realized I might have more testosterone in my system than I have estrogen and progesterone. And this was because when I started experiencing body hair in areas where body hair never used to grow, that if I start developing a mustache and I start feeling hairs coming out of my chin, is that making me less woman and more man? So there are challenges that also come with the aging process. And some time ago, I was requested to make a presentation on premenopause and menopause in one of our corporate organizations in Kenya. And the ladies who were between the ages of 28 and 40 were up in arms. And they were like, HR, why are you bringing this topic of menopause? We are still in our prime. And then, so when I went to this particular forum, the first thing I asked the ladies was, how many of us here can put their hands up and confidently say that they were prepared for their first period? How many of you can put up your hand and say, I was prepared, I knew how to handle myself? Or were we told that now you're a woman? Was it a big scare? Now you're a woman, keep off boys. In fact, from then, if any boy came near you, you are like, keep your distance, you might make me pregnant. I am now a woman. Were we given proper preparation? And then when we got married and had our homes, for those of us who went that way, were we prepared about how the sexual experience was going to be? Has anybody here been prepared for what motherhood? There is no handbook for how motherhood. You might get this, books here and there, you tell you motherhood has this, but the actual experience, I'm sure, ladies, is totally different for each one of us here. And those of us who are young mothers now and bringing up children, the children who are coming, who are being born now, the alphas, the Gen Z, the alpha, and now this year is the beta. From this year, we have a group of children who are being born who are called is a beta generation. So in this particular case, when we prepare ourselves for the different seasons in our lives, how prepared are we mentally? One phrase I have found people, women using so often is stress. You hear people saying, I am so stressed. Oh, my job is giving me stress. My husband is giving me stress. My children is giving me stress. But from where I sit, I always say that stress is a good thing. And people look at me and say, well, then how can stress be a good thing? Stress is a good thing because it is the impetus. For me, it's the impetus that pushes you to react when something out of the ordinary takes place. And this is on a daily. Yesterday was not like today. Tomorrow, we have no idea what it's going to be like. So how do we handle the different seasons in our lives which are bound to bring stress and cause us to have distress? So in this particular case, this is not such a monster. Menopause is not a monster. It's just a season in our life. Maybe we should be a bit more joyous about it, but we need to be prepared for it so that we are able to know that the anxiety that you're experiencing, the feelings of deep loneliness, why do they come about? Am I less a woman now that I don't have my menstrual cycle? Am I because of the hormone imbalance? Am I losing my temper? Am I not able to cope with people at this particular case? Then how do I handle this particular area? What do we need to know? Do I need to go for hormone therapy? Do I need to change my diet? Are there certain things that I shouldn't be eating? Is there certain things that I can do like yoga and deep breathing to help me with these situations? And the thing is, for me, the most important thing is acceptance. Accept the stage that you are in. Embrace it, because it's gonna come, right? And then move with it. But then there are things to look forward to. Can you imagine? There are things to look forward to even in this menopause. Because you can bond at a certain level with women who have achieved, you've got your grandchildren. By the time you're getting into deep menopause, you probably have grown children. Sometimes we have the preparation for that. You have grown children, you are accomplished in whatever area you are. But then there is also a great degree of freedom. And imagine you never have to worry about, am I good? What Dr. Christine was telling us about, that he now cycles. The cycle has gone. It has disappeared. There are no more heavy cycles. Can you imagine? Imagine the budget, the amount of money that you are using for that. What can you do with that money that you are using? We're using for your sanitary towels and so on. And then the most important thing is, come a little closer, ladies, so that I can whisper in your ears. This is 24/7. You know that you cannot have headaches now. There's no excuse of headaches. You cannot say I'm on my menses. I've got a headache today. We can't. You should be in a position to enjoy your body, and like somebody, enjoy your body at this particular age. 24/7, 365 days a year. Can you imagine how much intimacy you will have with your partner. So let us look at the positivity or the positive
All right.
with this.
Thank you so much. I can see the number of laughs and claps and love hearts, just being on the screen. Talking about stress, and as you can see, looking at our time, when we want to look at the challenges that women face, it can take all day. But now that Modoni brought in the issue about stress, how would somebody know? And I'd like to welcome Victoria into this. All the things that women are doing, you're hearing stress, burnout, emotional fatigues. How can people be able to identify that indeed what I am going through is stress? What are the symptoms? How do they look like emotionally or even psychologically? How does that look like? Victoria?
Thank you, Gathoni. The conversation is quite engaging. I think we need more than just an hour.
Yes.
Yeah, so we have so many stressors, and probably how we define stress is your body's reaction to threat or demand. When you do not have enough resources to meet the demands. But there's also what we call burnout. There's also what we call now emotional fatigue. But when we come to defining stress and you're going through it, for example, emotionally, you will find that you have a lot of what we call apathy. You have lack of interest. You're disengaged from your environment, from what is happening around yourself. Then you may also find yourself feeling hopeless. You'll realize that the symptoms of stress kind of mimic the symptoms of depression. So you need to have the criteria to get the correct diagnosis. But there'll also be feelings of feeling trapped. You feel irritable. You have moments of forgetfulness. Those moments when we all step into a room, for sure you knew what you were going to pick, but when you get there, you can't quite remember. So you retrace your steps and then you remember, then you go to the right place and pick whatever it is that you're looking for. Stress also, physically, you'll have those migraines we are talking about. You'll have a lot of headache. You'll notice there'll be a change even in your appetite. You'll find yourself eating too much or eating too little. And in our African culture, unfortunately, when we add weight, we always say it is a sign of doing well. But someone could be extremely stressed. They're binging on what we call comfort foods, and they're adding weight. And you're telling them, oh, so and so, you're doing really well. Things are looking up for you. Then you could also be having muscle tensions, especially around your back or below your neck. You feel like you need to kind of stretch. And when it comes to your performance, then you will have a lot of difficulty even completing your tasks. You find yourself having what we call procrastination, always postponing tasks. So your boss or your supervisor needs you to hand in this report, but you're not handing it in. You keep on postponing. Then there's what we call, and which is a recent term, presenteeism. So yes, I'm present at the work environment physically, but my mind, I am so removed from what is going on around the work environment. So you become prone to accidents. You're absent-minded. You send the wrong emails, you sign the wrong checks. So we call that presenteeism. And there's also now what we all know as absenteeism. You keep on absenting yourself from work. Why? Because you're so dissociated from your environment. So it's important to realize that you'll also have other physical symptoms. You have colds and flus. You have gastrointestinal issues. We did a research as Chiromo Hospital Group, and we confirmed that at least 25% of outpatients in the hospitals are actually there because they have an undiagnosed mental illness. So you're there all the time for your stomach issues, you're always having colds and flus, yet what you're experiencing is stress, which has pushed you to a place where you're mentally unwell, because when you're stressed, your immune system becomes very compromised and therefore you're susceptible to infections. So those are some of the symptoms, the signs of stress, and, moving on to things like burnout and what have you. But probably that would be a discussion for yet another day, Gathoni.
Yeah, thank you so much for that. Now that we are talking about rest, which is really overlooked, we have two questions on the chat box that I would like to engage my panelists to answer. So I'll just pick randomly. I don't know if director, you can answer for us the first one. As a parent, we want to grow at work, study, and at the same time make time for family. Juggling all this is hard, especially for single parents. How do I ensure I have rest, grow, and excel in this space? What are some of your thoughts on that? And any other panelists can contribute to that as well.
That's an interesting one, especially because the person is a single lady. But being a parent, I think, is one of the best things ever that has happened to me. It brings so much joy. It's not a chore. And I think enjoying your children is a very important thing. Have time with them. You're a professional. I think you just have to plan everything. And we do have 24 hours, and one can do that. Don't give it away to your house help or your house girl, because children also brings so much into you. Spend time with them, take them to school if you can. And juggling with your professionalism, it is about planning. That 24 hours, you have to plan it and have time for yourself. You must have time for yourself just to get that peace and enjoy life and smile and have a friend and really just to departmentalize everything about your life and sleep. Oh, there's so much to do in 24 hours, I think. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for that. There's so much to do. It's more about what can you prioritize, and also realizing that everything is seasonal, even those children. I love that. I don't know if there's one of my panelists would like to contribute to that before I ask the next question. Anyone at random?
I think I cannot overemphasize what Alice has brought out, and I think it is so crucial. But in addition to this, I think we need to look at our lives a little bit more critically, and maybe this can be done. Somebody talked about work-life integration. I think it was Victoria. Talked about work-life integration. Many times we look at work and life and we say work-life balance, and it's so hard. Where does life stop, and where does work begin? Is work life? Is life work? We need to look at it in that particular scope that these are two areas that are integrated. If, for example, we were to place our lives like as a wheel, look at the wheel of life and divide that wheel of life into 8 equal portions and look at the various areas in our lives, like our finances, our career, our relationships, our nutrition and health, our family and friends, our social responsibility to the world that has given us, an opportunity to live in it. What are you giving back? Our spirituality, and all these areas. We have 8 basic areas. If we were to look at these areas critically and find out where am I in all these areas, if the middle of the circle was a 0 and the smooth part of the circle at the end was the rounded edge was 10, on a scale of 0 to 10, where do you feature in terms of your career, your finances? What do you need to do? What do you need to inject? Sometimes we get fatigued because we are not giving each area the attention it requires. And sometimes it's not necessary that it is quantity. Sometimes it is quantity, sometimes it is quality. So even let's say having date night or having a fun night with the family, maybe once a month, where you let loose and everybody just has a blast, could bring the family together. But then, as Gavoni says, we are all in different seasons of our lives. We need to take cognizance of the season in the life of our lives that we are, and realize that some areas will require more attention at a particular season in our lives.
Right. Thank you absolutely for that. Nangami, you're here with us, and we've had a lot of the things that women are going through, and we've heard about being able to also take some rest. How can we be able to be, as women, how can we be able to reset, especially after you have gone through major life crises, setbacks? How can women be able to reset?
Yes, in fact, that's a very beautiful question, because reset is always very important, and especially after you've gone through a major setback. And setbacks are in various capacities. Sometimes could be emotional, It could be physical because of some health condition. Sometimes it could be financial. And I think most people, and especially the women that I've come into contact with, the problem has always is always oscillating between the financial and the emotional aspect. Either they've gone through divorce, they've gone through a breakup, or sometimes it can be that a business hasn't worked or they've lost a job, and usually they have gone through rest. Because rest is very important. For me, I usually advise that people take the time first off to rest. And rest is not just about, for most women, it feels like wasted time. I'll tell you this. Yesterday, this is something that rarely happens. So yesterday being a Thursday, I just decided to take the time. I wasn't feeling anything. I was just, my spirit wasn't in the mood to do anything. And I just decided to take the day off and I Netflix the entire day. And towards the end of the day, I felt a bit like, I've cheated today. Why have I been watching TV the entire time? I've just been on Netflix. But back in the day, I wouldn't have gotten myself to do that because I would have felt that was wasted time. And this is me like being lazy. But I've come to terms with the fact that whenever my body tells me that we have done enough, just give me time to rest. And whatever I choose to do in that moment, I'm very gracious with myself and very compassionate about the fact that I am taking off the time. This is also me applying self-love. It doesn't have to feel similar to each and everyone, but I know that I'm just taking the time to unwind and be myself. And rest can usually happen in so many ways. Either you can just decide to binge watch. I think it was Alice who talked about how she golfs. Some people it's meditation, for others it's listening to sermons and the rest of it. But then again, when it comes to now resetting, and resetting is where now you act differently or you try now to do things once again after now you've taken the time to understand. Take responsibility for whatever has happened, be compassionate with yourself, accept the what is. And then once you have done that and you need to reset, there are several things that you have to understand. First of all, introspect. When you want to reset, be honest with yourself, and you have to be brutally honest, especially for women. And usually I know that most of the time, whenever we take responsibility, usually it feels as though we are casting aspersions on ourselves. I was talking this to a group of women yesterday, and I was telling them that I love my son to bits, but I also regret the fact that I had him very young. I had my child when I was 20, 21 thereabout. And raising this child, I raised the child through a lot of struggle, survival mode. I wasn't in the right frame of mind. There are certain times when I was very angry about my situation and my life. And every once in a while, I would met that anger and frustration on him. And it is very nice for me to sit here and talk to you and say, oh, by the way, my son is everything to me. He's such a joy to me. But I can't categorically tell you that he's a blessing to me. Was I a blessing to him? Because we usually don't come from that point of your child is a blessing to you, but have you been a blessing to them? Are they going to sit and say, oh, thank you, God, for giving me such parents? And I can't, in all honesty, say that for the longest time when my child was coming up, those are some of the things that he had to say about, he can say about me. And taking responsibility for that and understanding that I might have messed his upbringing and having to put a child through the position where they have to be understanding. Like a child has to be at the same level as you, like, oh, I'm the only one who doesn't have a bicycle, and you have to sit them and my child understands that we are struggling. Like a child does not need to be put in a place where they have to rationalize things as grown-ups. And coming to that place and taking that responsibility and know that I messed up has allowed me then to do better. And when I'm resetting now, I understand that I have to take full responsibility of my mistakes and my actions. And so that is it. And then secondly, when you're resetting, then go look for help. Go to therapy, go see a psychologist, a physiotherapist, or not a psychologist or a psychiatrist, whatever it is. And then thirdly, after you have gotten the help that you need, because sometimes it's good to say, hey, I'm in danger, I'm in the pits, I'm in the shit, and I want someone to pull me out of it. And when someone pulls you out of it, then you have to take now the actions where you have to put in the work. And there's nothing that comes out of nothing. You really have to put in the work and work on every aspect of you, because we have 5 aspects, like take care of your spirituality, if you're spiritual, take care of your finances, take care of your emotional well-being, your physical aspects, and your emotional well-being. And the work has to be done. Unfortunately, we can't talk ourselves into it. We can't, work has to be done. And it's not just one size fits all. Whatever works for you, then go ahead and do it. But at the end of the day, when you're resetting now, the reset place, that is where now you do the work. And I think the rising is a manifestation of the reset, the work that went into the reset.
Thank you so much, Nangami. You've hit the nail on the head, especially talking about children and whether or not we take time to ask ourselves, have I actually been a blessing? We talk about in terms of what they give us, but we never take time to give feedback. I would like to challenge every mother on this call or anybody who is going to watch this. Just get feedback. If there's one thing I would change, what would you like it to be? And, feedback can be scary to receive, but at least it opens up an opportunity to have more introspective conversation and openness as well. So that's introspection, taking responsibility, going to therapy. Director, would you like to add some other practical tips that women can take to reset before we get into how then do we rise?
I'm thinking about, just having, you can travel. People think travel is very expensive. You can just go next door and be in another place, in another culture. I think traveling helps a lot just to get away from it all. And you'll find other people are going through the same things that you are. Sometimes you feel like you're all alone and poor me, or, and you go out and you find out that many people are also going through things. Watching all this Netflix, I like that. Nangami, you said that. Mudhoni, I know you're into acting. I've started watching a lot. I used to think that I'm wasting time watching, but it takes you away. It makes you travel, and you learn so much. I've enjoyed watching a bit more TV than I used to. So I think that has helped me feel a bit more positive. Just in my mental space, to take some time off and to travel when I'm still in my house. Yeah, thanks.
I like that. So yeah, I think sometimes you can just disconnect from this room, go to a next room, and kind of take time to reset. It's sad to hear that a lot of women would feel that even that resting or trying to reset sometimes could be internally interpreted as a waste of time or as somebody is being lazy. But I like that in this call it was mentioned we need to start learning how to listen to our body. The body is an alarm system. It will always inform you, by the way, if things are getting thick, if you're beginning to feel overwhelmed. And the goal is to rest and reset, not to push yourself even harder. And it's okay for that moment, because then you give yourself an opportunity to emerge better. I want us to look briefly at Rise, and please write any questions that you would have on the chat box. I know we are running out of time and there is one other question, but if something else comes to your mind that you'd like to ask this phenomenal panel of women, please write it down. I'm just wondering, to allow me to engage Daktari here. What advice would you give to women who are feeling stuck? They are unsure of the next move, and they're just trying to wonder, how do I rise? I've been down, I've been to the trenches. I can't see clearly where I'm going. What advice would you give to a woman who is in such a space in terms of rising?
Yeah, thank you, Gadoni. I think for me, I will just use a practical example of myself. I think for me is I had to learn that you have to remember what life is for you. Whenever I hit like rock bottoms, I always pause. Like I have episodes of like numbness where I just pause, switch off, and just till I don't know how many days or hours or whatever it would take in that moment. But then I ask myself, like, what life is to you? And then you have to remember that it's different for each one of us. And then there's more to life than just work. And it's work. Work is just a part of our life. It's not our life. So once you kind of fraction that, you would know that I don't have to carry my work with me. So first, especially with work, I'll give a quick brief example of myself. I recently went through a life-threatening illness, and I was very ill. And at some point, I thought I was going to lose my life. but this was just a way of stress manifesting in the physical. I think I had built up a lot of it in different aspects, but now it was just manifesting in the physical. What I did is I reached out to a friend and I told them, look, I'm very ill, I'm in the house, could you come and do this for me? And she was very kind to welcome me to her home and nursed me from her home. So that's one of the first things, is friendships. Have your very good core circle of friends. You don't have to have so many. I'm not someone who has many friends. I talk to different people at different stages in my life. So have your core team, like I would call them your nucleus. Like, I would reach out so and they would kind of center me. And and the different friends will play different roles in your life. So whatever challenge you're going through, somehow God will provide that kind of person who will just help you through that. And then I think it really built up to the point that at some point I even wanted to resign from my job. And I didn't have a plan of what I'm going to do after, what I'm going to do, but I just knew I just needed to break. And I remember I purposed and told my colleague that I really need to take a break. I really need to take time away, because I was no longer doing what I was supposed to do. I'm very passionate about my job, so I was no longer passionate about my patients. I didn't care about things. So I had to request for a break. So asking for time off, like if you have colleagues who can help you with that, especially even at work, you could ask. And if it doesn't come smoothly, you can now use the law, or not the law, but like you can use your rights to say, look, I'm entitled to this break. So me, I just took leave, and I knew I didn't know what I was going to do with my leave. Most of my friends know I travel with my leave. I like to travel. I like to do things, but this time it was just to travel in my house, I guess, as a director mentioned. Yeah, I just did that. So, and then again, someone alluded to a mentor. I have mentors. So I reach out to them and I talk to them, because whatever challenge you've gone through, someone else has gone through it probably, or a similar thing. So they will kind of point you in the right direction. You'll just feel like you've lifted, even just talking to someone feels like you've lifted your weight off yourself, and you've not transferred it, but you kind of get like advice, or how to move forward, or how do you navigate this. Yeah. The other thing is I engage in sporty activities. So whenever I'm trying to rise, my modes of like rising, or in my reset period, I sign up for things. So like I recently signed up for rock climbing. It was something very new. It was mentally challenging. I think physically, you think it will just physically challenge you. So I thought it's physically challenging. But let me tell you, it's so mentally challenging. You will engage all your senses, your critical thinking, your anxiety, your fears. You literally face your fears. So I faced my fears. I didn't even know that I was that scared of things. So up there, thinking of how I vertically come back down, I had to face my fears. I I I I, I was stuck for 30 minutes, very scared that yeah. So taking things that challenge you and again make you rise, because after you've conquered that challenge, you feel like you've got some energy back that now you can take back into like your work, into your family, or into being a mother, and give that energy to your kids. But you have to first center it or get it for yourself. And spin class is something I enjoy. So I do spin. I try and I do nature walks. Like if I'm in Nairobi, I do Karura. It's same trail, but it helps me to unwind and then plan. And then sometimes that's how ideas pop into my head of what I should do next. I try and eat well. I'm not very good with that. But again, as ladies, I think like for women above like 30, you kind of start introducing things like supplements. Those are not like strange things. So those things help with your health. as well. They've worked for me, because if you wake up very early to go to work and then you come back very late in the night, you're not in contact with any sun. Where are you getting your vitamin D? The next thing you just see you're apathetic and you don't know why. So yeah, I read books, I listen to podcasts, and then above it all, your spirituality. I think Modoni again mentioned it. It's also in the 7 Fs. So your faith. So my faith is something that really centers me. And yeah, I seek God, and it helps me to know what would be my next plan. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Namu, and thank you for sharing your personal story with us. It is through storytelling that we can also be able to empower people. I see we are 3 minutes past time. I would just like to request my panelists to give us just 10 more minutes, because I can see there are such important questions on the text box, and I would like you to just answer one each, starting with Victoria, because actually these questions that have been asked are also in line with us talking about rest, resetting, and also rising. So Victoria, there is a participant who has said that they have been a caregiver for 1 year, and it takes a lot, but I need to be there for my loved one. When we talk about rest, reset, and rise, what are some of the best strategies I can use to be able to keep me sane? So that's from a participant herein. We'll also have Modoni answer the next question for us. And then we are also going to have a director answer the other one from Lillian. And then we'll go that way. I think after that, we'll have like 2 more. All right. Let's start with Victoria.
Thank you, Gathoni. So the role of caregiving can be really, really draining. And especially when you're caring for a loved one, because usually we will be caring for our loved ones, maybe parents who are in, end of life diseases, or maybe you have a child who needs some sort of special care. Maybe they have cerebral palsy or Down syndrome or something like that. So it can be quite draining for the caregiver. And there's one thing that my boss always tells us, that before you put the oxygen mask on that person, first of all, mask up. Because if you do not take care of yourself, you will not be able to take care of the other person. Now, self-care comes from a point of self-compassion. When we talk about compassion generally, we are saying that I can see the suffering of other people and I feel like I want to alleviate their suffering. The way that you would take care of someone else who is going through some suffering, how about you take care of yourself the very same way, which means that you have self-compassion for yourself. You feel for yourself and you want to alleviate or end your own suffering. So that once you have self-compassion, then you can move on now to what we call self-love or self-care. And some of the things that you do when it comes to self-love is things like taking care of your mental health, that awareness. At what point do I know that my mental health is going down the wrong way? Is it spiraling? Is it because I'm feeling a little bit drained? I'm feeling depressed. I've become irritable. I've become moody. So being aware of your own mental health and the signs and symptoms which show you that you're doing badly is very, very important. And then I like what Dr. said about building strong relationships. Support systems are very, very important, because if you have good friends, you have good family who are there to support you, then they offer a sense of belonging and conditional love. And you're able to have a place that you can go to when you need some sort of help. And reaching out for help is very important. So if I'm doing badly, do I have a support system I can reach out to? And then also things like trying to do work-life integration. There's so much that you can do in terms of physical exercises. What am I eating? How many hours of sleep am I getting? And then also taking a break from that caregiving is very important. You may be there caregiving, you're also working, you have other aspects of your life, but can I take a pause? Can I take a break from this caregiving to go and do something that I enjoy? It could be just a walk, it could be going to the gym, it could be doing yoga, but can I take a break and then have a schedule for things that matter to me to enable me be a better caregiver? Remember, if you're not showing up for yourself, it will be very hard for you to show up for someone else and give them the right kind of caregiving. Adoni, back to you.
Thank you, Victoria, for that. I am 52 and have been feeling I need my space. Is this normal? What are your thoughts on that, Director? And if we are not able to answer all the questions in this call, we are going to actually have the questions on the social media platforms anonymously, and then we'll have our panelists answer, and we'll post that there. Yes. There's a
I
question.
think that, yes, being over 50, you've done parenting, maybe you've done wife stuff, and now you just want a break. You want to get away from everyone. I think before you get there, so that you don't get there, we've said, all of us, you do need times to rest. Times to rest, whether it's exercise, whether it's watching your Netflix, whether it's going for your walk in Karura. Try and start doing that long before you get to that place where you're just so tired of people. But it's a setback is good for it, it's natural. And I get it. You worked a long time, you've parented, you're a mother, you're not even Alice anymore. You're Mama Who, Mrs. Who. So this is a time that you want to enjoy. Have a good friend and enjoy that time, and do get away. It's so good to have that inner circle. You'll always have a friend that you feel the same, and don't feel odd. It is, especially women, everybody's always calling Alice to do this. Alice knows how to do that. Don't feel bad about it, but get a friend and do things that you enjoy out there. That's what I would say.
Thank you. I love that. Excellent. Just allow me to ask Modori just to answer this one more question from an anonymous attendee. How do you rise within a marriage where infidelity has occurred and you choose to stay? What are your thoughts on that?
My heart goes out to that individual in that particular situation. Marriage is a contract, and contracts can be terminated if they are not fulfilling the requirements.
Mm-hmm.
The end of that question said, choose to stay. But now, if you have made that choice, why have you made that choice? I think it's time for somebody. We talked about being introspective. It is time for you to look into yourself and find out, who am I? What do I stand for? What are my beliefs? This could be a situation where somebody's self-esteem, self-value, and self-worth have been crushed to the point that they feel that it is okay, whatever the other person is doing to them. But in any relationship, before you get into a relationship, it must be I am getting into that relationship, not that you have brought me into the relationship. In this sense, you are the most important person. So ask yourself, why am I in it? What is the end game? How does this situation make me feel? How is it affecting my relationship with my children? My relationship even with myself and out there? Has it made you lose confidence? Has it made you feel devalued? Has it made you feel wanted? And when you look at it and you are able to respond to those answers, then you will come to a decision as, why am I then staying? If I cannot change the situation, what happens when we're talking about change? That sometimes we have no control of the things that are around us, but we are in control of ourselves. So my answer would be, take control of yourself. You are able to change yourself, but even though you're not able to change the people around you. And maybe this is somebody who can seek therapy and find out, how do I rebuild myself? How do I focus on myself, build my self-value and myself again, realize who I am so that I'm able to move on? That's how I'd respond to that.
All right. Thank you so much, Mudhoni. We have two other questions on the call. I'll take a screenshot. I'll send them to Nangami and to Daktari. And please write your response. We are going to post. I would like to make an end to this webinar today. I know we can spend hours talking about women and specifically talking about this theme of rest, reset, and rise. I would like to just say a special thank you to the phenomenal women who took their time, came here this morning to share their nuggets of wisdom and to share their experiences and even to address some of the questions that came in online. I truly appreciate that, but I cannot truly end without giving them 5 more seconds just to give us their last words and their goodbyes. So I'll just follow the grid. I'll start with downwards from Victoria, then to Nangami, then to Mudhoni, and then to Director Alice. Yes. Victoria, any last words?
Thank you for this amazing panel. The time that we've had is very, very informative. And I think it's good for all of us women to have what you call a sister circle. Be your sister's keeper, but also be your own keeper, and then get into some sort of sister circle for that social capital. Thank you, Gathoni.
You're welcome. Be your sister's keeper. All right. What's next, Nangami? Yes.
Yes. So first off, I just want to say thank you to the ladies who have availed themselves to listen to us, because you have paid us with the time, something that we cannot afford to give back. So thank you so much for sparing your time to listen to us. And my parting shot will just be, I've always been a champion for doing the work and master yourself, work on yourself, because the moment you master yourself, then you master any reality. So take the time to go within, find peace within yourself, and everything else. That is according to what those of us who have the Christian proclivity, the scriptures say that seek ye the kingdom of God and its righteousness, and everything else shall be added unto you. You find yourself, you found God, and all the beautiful things that you want. And even when it comes just to figuring out life, you will find that the answer is always going to be there within you. So yeah, to the lovely ladies out there, do the work on yourself, and everything else you'll be able to master. You become a master of reality. Cheers.
Thank you so much, Nangami. Master yourself, find God. I love that. Mudhoni?
Ladies, self-love is not selfish love. So love yourself. And no matter what you're going through, look at life as a gift. So whatever you're going through, my encouragement would be to you, get up, dress up, and show up. Because as hard as life may be, it is a precious gift that we all should value. So love yourselves and take care of yourselves. Thank you very much.
Love yourself. I love that. Dr. Christine? Please unmute. Sorry, kindly unmute.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. This has been really wonderful. To the wonderful ladies who have tuned in, thank you again for your time. I think also I've had to learn that aspect of self-love and what it truly means. So I think that's what we should do. It's okay. Like, it's okay to slow down. It's okay to stay still, and it's okay to know when to get up. Just don't miss the points of when to do every step. Yeah. So I think for me, one of the things I've really learned is it's okay. Whatever phase it is, it's okay. Just know that you can acknowledge it, and then how you rise from that. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Daktari. Director has dropped, but she's WhatsApped me. I'm going to read it. And her comment is, ladies to embrace every season. Have self-love and engage in chats like this to build you up. What a great way to end this morning's conversation. My heart is filled with so much gratitude to all the 200 attendees who came in today, and these phenomenal women for giving us their precious time to give back to the community by having this conversation. One of the quotes that I really like is, "No one is you, and that is your power." So as we get into the month, as we continue celebrating History Month, remember that quote: "No one is you, and that is your power." Thank you so much. May you have a happy Friday, a great weekend ahead of you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.